Hey everyone, welcome back, and I hope you have a great new year. I thought I would kick off my new year with a new pedal board build, and this is the, I guess, form that I've finally settled on. I do want to mention that this particular pedal board is built specifically for improvisational looping compositions. I do have another pedal board which is more for like live or just me practicing more standard guitar, and that pedal board is much more stripped down. So this particular board, it has a very specific purpose, and it's also built to be easily changed around in some spots. I do want to say also, I have simplified this board quite a bit, and that may make you laugh, but it's actually the truth. I'm going to go through this whole signal chain A through Z and just let you know what's going on here and why it's set up in this manner. So let's just dive right in here. So the first pedal on my board is the freakout, as always. And I have it there because it sounds good, and also because the manual said to put it there. You can use it in many ways, but the first way I use it is to create tension. And, you know, it's the type of thing where if you have even something as simple as just like a chord drawn out, right? I just love the sound of that, kind of picking up a harmonic or just creating a little bit like an extra layer in there. I did an entire video on the freakout, so I'll put a little link or thumbnail or whatever on the screen for that. I'll be doing that throughout the video, so any of these pedals that I've done a video on, I'll kind of call them out so you can, check it out if you want to know more about it. Now, I do want to mention that, the freakout, I'm using it with a pretty clean sound right here. And even though it's a feedback pedal, which means it sounds, great with some high gain, again, it just sounds good, I think, no matter what you're doing. So enough getting excited about the freakout, but that to me is still, it's one of my favorite pedals. Okay, so the next pedal, it's the freakout into the Walrus Audio Deep 6, which is a compressor. I believe that is the V2 of the pedal, but honestly, I don't remember. I've had this thing forever. I really haven't seen a need to upgrade it, even though I keep thinking about doing so. It's kind of hard to, because I'm not sure what upgrading it would actually buy me. If you have thoughts on that, please leave it in the comments, but for now, I don't know, maybe someday I'll try another compressor, but for now it's done what it needs to do. And the reason I have it on this board is because it's good for controlling dynamics, and that's really important, especially when you have a bunch of loops going on or a lot of effects going on. I don't always keep it turned on, but I'd say 95% of the time when I'm playing this kind of like ambient looping music, I will have it on. So just so you can kind of hear how I have it set up, it's not like crazy compressed. So let's get into the gain section. Now, I am using the King of Tone here right now. Sometimes I will use the Noble's ODR, which is such a good pedal. Or I will put a fuzz pedal in, like this Caroline Shigeharu, and sometimes I will put both in. But normally the King of Tone kind of takes care of everything I need. Now, one thing about the King of Tone, I leave the overdrive on almost all the time. And it's not a lot of overdrive, so it's pretty light. I mostly have it on to give a little bit of compression and also just a little bit of character to the sound. So that's why it's so light there. If I need something that has more sustain and is more of just like a, you know, heavy kind of distorted rock sound, that's when I kick in the distortion side of this. I like the distortion on this for what I do with this pedal board because, again, it's very compressed and it just feels very tight to me. And that is important, again, when you're, at least I found, when you're building all these loops and stacking them on top of each other. Now, when we leave the King of Tone, we're actually heading down here to Tuner Town. So I have the Peterson tuner here. I used to use this pedal, which is the Polytune 3. And I think this is a great tuner for live play and just, you know, all-purpose tuner. But quite frankly, I was having some problems setting my intonation on some of my guitars because I feel like the Polytune, it just isn't accurate enough to do that in a way that I like. It has a bunch of sweetened tunings in here, you know, things for like drop D and baritone guitar and all that stuff. So it's just got a lot of functions to it. Honestly, one thing I would say about the Peterson tuner is I feel like it is a little complicated for a tuner. And I tend to like my pedals, despite what you may look at here, I tend to like things to be a little simple. If I could recommend to anyone a good tuner pedal, I would probably recommend this one at this point. So after we leave the tuner, we go into the SuperEgo. Now the SuperEgo is a freeze pedal. So I use it to create drones or just freeze and swell notes. And it has a bunch of effects built into it here, which I'll, you know, sometimes kick in. Obviously, very, very useful pedal. However, there's one thing about it I don't like, and that is it can be very harsh. So the SuperEgo has this kind of high-end, I guess, unpleasantness to it to my ears, and especially when you stack it upon itself, it starts to build up, and I just think it doesn't sound very good. Now, there is a filter effect on the pedal that can help kind of round that off. But I don't really like that filter effect. I feel like it just takes out too much and it just makes it a little too muddy. So I like to actually mitigate that problem a little further down in the signal chain. And that's where the GE7 comes in. So the GE7 is after the SuperEgo. So for a couple reasons, but the main reason is to keep this pedal under control. And what I normally like to do is I just round off some of the high end. So that's with no EQ. I just think that sounds so much better. The GE7 is very helpful for, I guess, carving out bits of, like carving out frequencies as you stack loops upon each other. Sometimes I'll use the Condor here instead of the GE7, but honestly, I really like the simplicity of just having the line and just saying, okay, I'm just gonna tweak my tone here and play that. And as I'm looping, I'll often just kind of change this periodically in the hope that the loops will sit upon each other in a nice way. So from the GE7, we now hop down to this area, and this area changes up from time to time, but right now I have the Meris LVX here. Now, this is a delay in the spot, but it also is a place where I will use the looper. And I don't have a particular patch that I'm in love with right now that I always use. I'll just kind of mess around with it. Honestly, I feel like I'm not using this pedal to its full potential, to be quite honest. So I'm trying to force myself to get better with it by having it here in such a prominent position. But again, the looper is very helpful here as well. Once we leave the LVX, we go to my old friend, the Count to 5. Now, the Count to 5, sometimes I will put it before the LVX. I'll do like a quick swap. So that's why this area, it's kind of a modular area, I guess, because I can put different pedals in and out. Sometimes I'll put the Habit here. It just depends on what I'm doing that day. One reason I always make sure I put the Count of 5 down here, though, is because I like to sit on the floor when I play guitar. And so I need to be able to use both my hands on the guitar and grab a tone. Or not a tone, but a melody. So what I can do is I can use my foot That's why it's important to have this always at the bottom of the board. So there are a couple pedals that I actually have to make sure I have at the bottom of the board just so I can reach them. So that does change how I kind of lay it out. So if you're wondering why things kind of go in this weird pattern here, there's a method to the madness. And that's actually one of the trickiest parts about setting up a pedal board, is kind of figuring out the ergonomics of it. So from the Count of 5, we actually jump up here to the tri-parallel mixer. Now this replaces my second Matrisse pedal that I used to have. I felt like I wanted something a little simpler here because I'm using 3 loopers here. I'm probably not going to feed them into each other, so it seemed like this would be a simpler way to just deal with this part of the pedal board. So channel 3 goes into my El Capistan, and I'm using this as a looper, not as a delay. This is my favorite looper of all time. It sounds so good, and I'll put a link to a video I've done about it up on the screen. Channel 2 goes to my Ditto X2 looper. Now, this is an old pedal. I've had this forever, but it is really, really reliable, and it really sounds good, and it's just the simplicity is wonderful on this. So I absolutely adore the Ditto X2. I know they make smaller ones and different ones, but this one I really, really love. And then channel 1 goes into my Blooper. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's just another great looper. And I also have to make sure I have these pedals at the bottom of the board so I can get to these buttons on the Blooper, which, you know, control some of the effects on it, but also then my foot can hit these pedals. So that's all very, very important. So the tri-parallel mixer allows me to mix all 3 of these sources with the main source. I can pull them in and push them out. It just gives me a lot of flexibility here. Now from the tri-parallel mixer, we go over here to the Matrisse, and this is such an important pedal to me. I do have a video talking about this pedal as well. There are 3 loops in this pedal that I have set up. And I've actually, again, this is one section I've really, really simplified out. So channel, I guess, 2 would be going, channel 1 goes on into the last part of the pedal board. Channel 2 is the Mood pedal, Mark 1. And honestly, I actually prefer the Mood Mark 1, the original Mood, over the newer Mood because of the stretch mode, because the stretch mode is just so good. But then loop number 2 is Mood 2, because I want 2 moods. And then this last slot is the last channel on the Matrisse, is the Onward pedal. So this is a modular slot. Sometimes I will put other pedals in the slot, like a Draume, or even the warped vinyl Mark 1, which is a pedal that just sounds so nice with these Mood pedals. And then the idea is to take whatever's looping in these and feed it into the Onward. So let me quickly show you that, just in case it doesn't make sense what I do here. So I'm going to capture some audio right now with the Mood Mark 1. Let's see. Okay, so I have some audio trapped in there and playing back. Now let's do the same with the Mood Mark 2. Okay, now we have some audio trapped in there. Now the idea is I kind of want it to go, and I've cheated here, I actually have these turned up, but basically this knob takes the Mood Mark 1 and puts it into the Onward. And this sends the Onward out. So here's Mood Mark 1. Here's Mood Mark 1 into Onward. Here, I'll crank the mix and just make it very obvious. Let's do the same with Mood Mark 2. And then obviously, this is where things get crazy, where you can start adding some stereo delay and reverb. And that's the basic idea for that section of the pedal board. So from there, we're going to go into the Iridium. And the Iridium, I mostly use this on the Fender or the Marshall settings. I have made the area after the Iridium modular, so things change up there. But I do want to say with the Iridium, you know, a lot of other like, I guess, amp and cab sim pedal type things have come out in the past year. And I don't know, I just haven't really seen a reason to move to something else. I've been really happy with not only how the latency is on the Iridium is, you know, like it feels like it's very responsive and there's no latency I can notice. So it plays really well. I think it sounds really good too. So maybe one of these days I'll try a new pedal in this slot, but for now I've been pretty happy with it. Now I do want to mention that I am coming out of this mono, but I come out of the next pedal stereo, and that's where things go stereo. So after the Iridium, right now I'm going into a delay, which is the Brig. And the Brig, I'm trying to make sure I have every effect off. So the only thing you're hearing is the Brig. So I have it very wide. It's not overly crazy. It's not like an insane amount of delay. But that's where, you know, things get wide and big at this point in the pedal board. So I'm trying to keep things somewhat controlled until I get here where it kind of expands out. And then from here, I like to have a reverb. Now, I will say I've had the Night Sky in that slot for a long, long time, but in keeping with my blue reverb pedals, because sometimes I'll put a blue sky, a big sky in there. But now we have the Dark Star, and this pedal is absolutely beautiful. And when you have it in there with the Brig, And with it set up that way, just simple chords sound so beautiful. So this is how I have things set up for the pedals. So once again, comes looping through here, goes through the 2 mixers, goes into the Iridium and into the rest of the stuff. Okay, so from there, we go into the Walrus Audio Canvas, and this is a line isolator and it goes stereo into my sound card. So that's where we go from there. Now from that spot, we're gonna go into, I guess, some of the utility stuff with the pedal board. So I have an Old Blood Noise Endeavor's Ramper pedal here. Right now I have this hooked up to the Dark Star, and these are such powerful pedals. I know they make a bigger one, and quite frankly, I am waiting until they redesign the graphics on it because I find it to be visually messy to me, and I don't know, for some reason I'm just turned off by that. I want them to come out with like a cleaner design of the graphics on it before I get one, but I will probably get one of their like bigger, fancier units that they make. I also have a Chase Bliss MIDI box here. Now, right now, this is complicated enough. Like I don't need to go crazy with a bunch of MIDI shit. But what I will do is I have MIDI going into my Blooper. And one reason I do that is sometimes when I'm looping, I want my DAW to start and stop the Blooper because, you know, when you're hitting it and you're trying to record like like a click, it's sometimes not exact. So that allows me to have the DAW activate Blooper and deactivate it to set the loop to the perfect length. So that's just something I sometimes have. I don't use it all the time, but that's why this is here. Let's see what else. The pedal board itself is a Pedal Train PT Pro. I think it's called the Classic Pro now. It's huge. It's not perfect, but I don't really see the need to get anything else right now. In fact, I do worry about if they made something larger, because that just might compel me to get something larger and make things overly complicated, and maybe it's good to have some limits here, even though this is probably a little out of control. As far as power, I'm using the Chiox power supplies that I have talked about in the past. They have been absolutely perfect. They've been very easy and very reliable. I would get them again in a heartbeat, and I totally recommend them to everybody. And then finally, for cables, I like these little EBS cables. You know, some are gold, some are different kinds, whatever, but I mean, I just like how small they are. They've been very reliable. I have yet to have one fail on me, and I've been using them for several years now. So I will continue to use those. They have been absolutely wonderful. Okay, I think that's it. So thank you very much. I hope this video gives you some ideas, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on this board layout. You know, one reason I do these pedal board tour videos is because I feel like it sparks ideas. When I watch other people do these, it sometimes gives me ideas. So I'm trying to, I guess, share that with you, and also, you know, just maybe start a conversation about what the best way is to do these things. And I think it's just fun to talk about. This setup is, I think, what I'm going to use for several months now. I've been screwing around with my pedal board and reconfiguring it way too much lately, and I wanted to simplify it out a bit and get it more compact. And this particular setup I'm pretty happy with. So I'm looking forward to making music with it, and I hope this video at least gives you some ideas so you can make some great music as well. All right, that's it, my friends. Please take care. Have a great new year, and yeah, happy holidays. Please hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel, and have a great day. I'll see you soon.